Those of you that have braved the wasteland in the Fallout series know that it is no stranger to spooky happenings, characters, and locations. While the Fallout universe approach is usually not so up in your face with the horror aspects of the wasteland, it doesn't mean that we don't get creeped out when exploring the various Fallout games. And if you don't want to continue to get freaked out by the mini horrors of the wasteland, you should subscribe to the channel now for more content like this. If you're feeling particularly feisty, you can even join the TKs-Mantis Discord server, and we have a great community, and the topic's not always Fallout, but we have dedicated boards for every game. It's the best way to talk to me directly, and I look forward to seeing you there. The link is in the description. The DLC add-ons for the Fallout games are no different than the main bit when it comes to unsettling locations. So many places in the Fallout universe have genuinely horrifying backstories. Sometimes it's just the overall vibe of the area that can make our skin crawl. Whatever the case may be, in this video, I will talk about some of the creepiest places I have found in the DLC of the Fallout games. This is 10 super spooky Fallout DLC locations. Post-war Pittsburgh needs no help being creepy. Radiation and disease have hit the area harder than most due to the smoke thrown into the air by the many steel mills that still litter the area. With rampant sickness and slavery, it isn't hard to see why this area would make the list. But by far, the most unsettling place in the area would be the Steelyard itself. Pre-war, this part of the pit was just one piece of a massive foundry puzzle in downtown. People who have become sick due to air pollution have changed and mutated in this twisted hellscape, with trogs, those suffering from the troglodyte degeneration contagion, wandering the ruins and feasting on the flesh of those unlucky enough to be forced into searching for the remaining steel ingots that rest in the yard. Those who could be considered luckier have just lost their minds to the sickness, being called the wild men of the pit. The outlying population is mainly slaves, being held captive by some of the most bloodthirsty raiders the wastes have ever seen. With the promise of a cure to the masses, even that is tainted with a veil of horror, as the only cure to be found is in the blood of a pure infant. Regardless of how valuable steel may be in the post-war world, this is one of the last places you would ever want to find yourself. Under the boiling swamps of Point Lookout lies one of the most unsettling areas in the Fallout series. The ritual site is used by the swamp folk for worship, as well as sacrificing the odd traveler unlucky enough to find themselves in this area. The dark, dank underground of this swampland is enough to send chills down any explorer's spine. This area drives the point home even more with cramped and confusing tunnels leading into the main chamber. The Krivbekni, a book that is said to have dark powers, can be found here along with a ritual knife used in the sacrificial ceremonies that have taken place here. Placed in a vessel filled with blood, it certainly acts as a perfect centerpiece for such a damned location. Whispers can be heard throughout the site, the same voices heard back in the Dunwich building. Wary wanderers should keep their distance. One of the most tumultuous times in the Fallout universe was the Sino-American War, which saw the US and China come to blows over resources and swelling borders. During this time, it was not uncommon to find camps that were built to house Chinese-American citizens that caused suspicions in communities. Turtledove Detention Camp is one such place. The prisoners were suspected spies and enemies of the state. Because of this, the conditions at Turtledove were atrocious. Outhouses were the only restrooms available, people were crammed into small rooms in a bunking system that served as living quarters, and all of this was enforced by a large number of security robots. The dreadful conditions mixed with the unjust suspicion of many innocent people would lead to a riot just before the Great War would take place. This saw several prisoners escape and the remaining inmates taking refuge in a bunkhouse, barricading themselves to simply survive Turtledove. The shell of this facility reminds explorers of the dark past that has led us to this current world space. As a whole, the entire ship from the mothership Zeta DLC is pretty creepy. The idea that Zetan aliens have been abducting and monitoring Earth for centuries is more than a little alarming. Doesn't help that the whole thing is surrounded by the emptiness of space. One of the more eye-catching areas is the Experimentation Lab. Based on logs in the area and the instruments that can be found littered around the place, we can safely assume that cruel experiments were carried out on a wide variety of victims. The abominations we find on the mothership are likely a product of these experiments. These creatures seem to be feral and possess strange human-like features. Even the Zetans seem to want them segregated from the rest of the ship. Who knows how many people woke up to true horror inside this room, only to slowly be changed into a feral shell, floating through a universe they could never understand. It's not hard to find something spine-chilling in the Dead Money DLC of Fallout New Vegas. The Sierra Madre Resort, close to the Grand Canyon, is surrounded by heartbreak, with reminders of its sadness around every corner. Pre-war, the resort and casino would be designed and built by Frederick Sinclair. Among other questionable choices, Sinclair would have a vault made deep inside the casino, not just for himself, but for his lover, Vera Keyes. Vera had other plans though, as Dean Domino, a lounge singer, had expressed his plot to break Sinclair's heart and steal the treasure of the Sierra Madre for themselves. Domino would use Vera's Med-X addiction as blackmail to ensure that she would remain on board with the plan. As the bombs fell, so did the inhabitants, their last cries recorded by the casino's security systems. Now, Vera roams the halls as a hologram, near where her body lays, reminding everyone how important it is to let go. Deep in the canyons of Zion, it's not hard to find the typical horrifying things that we usually do in the wasteland. The tribals that call the area home tell stories about the caves that would make even the most hardened wasteland explorer turn tail, not to mention the many buildings scattered around the area that the locals consider taboo. One location stands out when it comes to spooky spots, and that is the crashed scout bus that lies in Zion Canyon, known by Fallows Chalk as the place where the little ones fell. The site is the aftermath of a bus crash that saw 16 Boy Scouts, a scoutmaster, and the driver lose their lives. A somber reminder that life plays its cards to everyone, regardless of age. We can still find remnants of the children that call this their resting place. Nestled on the outskirts of Big Mountain lies Higgs Village. The quaint suburban atmosphere is jarring compared to the rest of the area, which always calls for alarm. These were the homes of the executives of the think tank from when they were humans, and each house tells its own story about who lived there before, offering some chilling background to the now cybernetic scientists. What's most unsettling about this location is the abandonment of life. What once was the homes of the thriving minds of Big Mountain have become time capsules, preserving the life that once lived. On top of that, the village shares a strong resemblance to Tranquility Lane, one of Dr. Braun's simulations we experienced in Fallout 3, which just adds a little bit extra level of creepy. Formerly used by the NCR as a trade route through what is now known as the Divide, the High Road offers no sympathy to those who cross it. Again, this location serves as a reminder of pre-war life, a once heavily populated highway turned to rubble, not once, but twice. Now, the High Road sits in wait. Deathclaws plague the path, with marked men controlling what area they can. While this road runs from Hopeville to Ashton, very few make the trip. If it isn't the dangers that await on the bridge, it's the dangers around it. Storms from the Divide are enough to turn any human into a burned, helpless soul. Some roads are better left untraveled. A rather unassuming location, Eden Meadows Cinemas in Far Harbor could be overlooked as just another set piece in the wasteland, and for the most part, it is. Still, there is something very unsettling about walking through the dense forest and fog to see a working drive-in theater, still playing movies from the past. Pre-war, the drive-in was subject to controversy when management planned to raise the ticket price by $10, simply because they were trying to take advantage of the high demand at the time. Now, the area is surrounded by feral ghouls and offers another reminder of the pre-war, the life so many had to give up when the bombs hit. Finally, we look at one of the only confirmed haunted houses in the Fallout series, the Grandchester Mystery Mansion. This site is home to a gruesome tale involving the Grandchester family. Hannibal and Morticia Grandchester would buy the house and raise their daughter Lucy here. During this time, Lucy reportedly became possessed by some demonic force and would murder both of her parents. She would be sent to a mental institution, but would escape and end her own life by hanging in the home's attic on her 18th birthday. There are still reports to this day of people seeing Lucy as a ghost child, provoking others to come to the attic, giving all of the visitors and would-be looters quite the fright. Though the Grandchester Mansion looks like any other attraction at a theme park, don't be fooled. It seems to be a little more haunted than most would think. Thank you for watching my video about spooky DLC locations in the Fallout series. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Helps the channel out immensely. I want to thank my patrons and YouTube channel members, and a special thanks to my biggest supporters: Fireflare, JP Rivera, Primark Mustard, Edgy, Bill Scott Sheets, Alexander Cobb, Thomas, Papa Swanson, Billy Joe Jimbob, and Mr. Z. Thanks again for watching. I will catch you on the next one. It has been Mantis.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch the sky, baby girl, testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon'